That was President Obama commenting on the shooting massacre in Oregon, saying, quote, "This has become routine. I'm back with the panel now." Obviously, the president has his opinion on this, guys, and he was visibly emotional. But there was also an element of this, Tammy, that was very disingenuous, using the presidential platform for essentially a political commercial, taking a not-so-veiled shot at the NRA, maybe even suggesting to change the Second Amendment when you start saying we need to draft governors and state legislators to overall change the laws. What do you make of it?
The timing. My goodness. These people aren't even buried yet. It was implied by the president there at the college that some of the students, they didn't even know who was still involved. Many are in the hospital yet. There may be more deaths. This comes from the man from Chicago, which has implemented what he is suggesting. It is a river of blood. This isn't about partisanship even or differences of opinion. We have facts in this nation that shows us what kinds of cities, how they bloom when there is people are armed and able to defend themselves, and what happens when you have a gun-free zone. Separate from that, the politics of that, this is ghoulish. It is disturbing, and if there was ever, you think about the time, the differences of what he chooses to talk about. Nothing about Kate Steinle and that murder on the pier in Seattle. Nothing about Brian Terry when that occurred. Fast and Furious, hundreds of dead Mexicans. But he says it's time to politicize these things. In fact, what it does is it takes us away from looking at some actual issues involved in the shooting. We don't know who the shooter is. It takes us away from looking at, yes, pharmaceuticals, drugs. And not that there's an excuse. I'm glad this guy's dead. But he immediately changes it to focus on one aspect of his political agenda, and that's atrocious.
I think he tried to mitigate whatever, to your point, whether it was racially motivated or religiously motivated or even someone addicted to a drug or saying that the sickness of the mind, he hit that early, trying to mitigate it, bringing it all the way back, always. What's the real guilty thing here, Bo, are guns. That's the guilt. It's not the person pulling the trigger.
The only problem he's missing here is the illegal guns are killing 5,000 to 6,000 Americans across our country, and I hate to say, and they're in our ethnic neighborhoods, and they're getting killed by illegal guns. So let's have gun control. And then the only ones who are going to have the guns are the illegal guns on there with our kids getting murdered in our communities. He's missing the point here. The illegal guns are killing the masses across this country, in Chicago, in Baltimore, all our inner cities. These are illegal guns. These are not owners from the NRA.
Rod Wheeler, let me go to you here on this. Two things. President Obama and his comments, and also I'm still thinking about Dr. Rita Cpayne, the interim president there, despite what she has already seen, how these students and these teachers were sitting ducks. Thinks that because this is a beautiful campus and it's somewhere out of the way, it's idyllic, and they are all, quote, good people, that this won't happen again.
Right, and that needs to change in and of itself, Charles. I mean, that's just the culture there. The culture there is that this isn't going to happen. You only read about these kind of situations in the paper. You only hear about it on the news. And as we can see, Charles, from all of these situations, that can happen anywhere. But I do want to say something real quickly about what President Obama said. And I have so much respect for President Obama, but here again, we see a situation where he has it wrong. He's jumping on this whole issue of gun control. And the problem is, it's not necessarily gun control, it's really mental health. Yes, we do have gun control laws in some of these cities, just as Tammy Bruce just alluded to. But look at the numbers. So I don't think he should politicize this, which is what he's doing. I think what he should do is reach across the aisle, all of us come together collectively, and let's try to find some real solutions to try to put a stem on this type of situation, Charles.
Eric, you're the resident liberal here. Can you, but I think you come down differently when it comes to gun control, quote unquote, gun control.
I was disappointed in President Obama with this. This is not necessarily a gun control issue. When you have children who have been murdered, this is not the time to talk about gun control. Let's talk about healing this community. Let's talk about getting them the help that they need. Let's talk about those things.
That's right.
Because
there's
no way that we know that gun control would have stopped this person from getting a gun. There's no way to determine that. But one thing about the gun control, if there was gun control with a security guard at this college who had a gun, maybe 13 people wouldn't be dead and 20 seriously injured.
Yeah, and then
that's the problem I have.
The idea that there were even retired law enforcement officers on the campus who probably had the proper training to take this guy down. You couldn't take him down with mace. Hey, David Katz, what are your comments? What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree that. Well, look, I understand that the president is going to politicize this, but he doesn't have a right to be wrong on the facts, and he's completely wrong on the facts. He's wrong on the purpose of the Second Amendment. Constitutional scholar, try reading the Federalist Papers, might educate yourself. Most importantly, I have one question. Please, in one of these press conferences, articulate the verbiage you would use. What law would you pass that would take a firearm out of that guy's hands? If you can tell me, well, if the following law was passed, that guy wouldn't have had a gun and these people wouldn't have been killed. First of all, the most serious mass school killing in history, not a single shot was fired, 1927. That's number one. Number two, with this constant call for gun control, you cannot, short of confiscation, craft any legislation that's going to make a difference. So it sounds good. It plays to his base, and I do believe he actually feels that way. He's an anti-gun guy. I get it. But it's not going to make a difference. There's got to be other ways to go, and he's ignoring all of them.